Michael Burch, death in Huerfano County Jail, a case of neglect and brutality? The cold, sterile walls of a jail cell are supposed to represent justice, but sometimes they become silent witnesses to injustice. The death of Michael Burch in Huerfano County. Jail raises disturbing questions about accountability, medical neglect, and the treatment of vulnerable individuals within our justice system. Was this a tragic accident or a consequence of systemic failures? Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Michael Burch, a 69-year-old man, died within the confines of Huerfano County Jail in 2023. His death has sparked outrage and a federal lawsuit alleging a shocking level of indifference and brutality at the hands of law enforcement and medical personnel. This isn't just about one man's death, it's about the values we uphold as a society. The circumstances surrounding Burch's death are deeply troubling. Despite a ruling of homicide by the medical examiner, no criminal charges have been filed against those involved. This lack of accountability demands scrutiny and raises serious concerns about the protection of individuals in custody. The federal lawsuit filed by Burch's estate seeks to uncover the truth and demand justice. It aims to shed light on the events leading up to his death and hold those responsible accountable for their actions, or lack thereof. This case is a stark reminder of the power imbalances within the system. Burch's ordeal began with an arrest stemming from what appeared to be a mental health crisis. He was exhibiting erratic behavior, rambling incoherently, and generally acting out of character. This should have been a red flag. He was arrested for menacing after allegedly threatening people with a rubber mallet. While the alleged crime warranted investigation, his behavior clearly indicated a need for mental health intervention, not incarceration. The system failed him from the start. Deputies and intake workers themselves acknowledged that Burch was acting irrationally upon his arrival at the jail. This awareness makes the subsequent lack of appropriate care even more egregious. The signs were there, but they were ignored. Despite the obvious signs of a mental health crisis, no mental health evaluation was conducted. This failure to provide necessary medical attention is a critical point of contention in the lawsuit. It speaks to a systemic disregard for the well-being of inmates. Adding insult to injury, Burch was initially held on a $15,000 cash bond, which was later increased to a staggering $45,000. This exorbitant bond effectively ensured that a man in the midst of a mental health crisis remained incarcerated, further exacerbating his condition. The situation escalated dramatically in Cell 100, where Burch was seen making slashing motions with a miniature pencil. This act, while concerning, should have been met with de-escalation tactics and mental health support, not violence. Detention Officer Stuart Pino and Captain Leah Vigil confronted Burch about the pencil. The ensuing interaction reveals a disturbing lack of empathy and a reliance on force rather than communication. The power dynamic was heavily skewed against Burch. Pino's threat to Burch, "Drop it or we'll drop you," is chilling. It demonstrates a clear intent to use physical force, even against a man who is already exhibiting signs of mental distress. This aggressive approach is deeply troubling. Pino then deployed a taser on Burch. The use of a taser on an elderly man in the midst of a mental health crisis is a questionable and potentially dangerous tactic. It raises serious questions about the training and judgment of the officer involved. Following the taser deployment, Pino tackled Burch into a bench. This physical assault resulted in immediate and excruciating pain for Burch. The level of force used seems disproportionate to the perceived threat. Burch immediately expressed extreme pain after being tackled. His cries for help were seemingly ignored, further highlighting the indifference of those in charge. His suffering was dismissed as mere resistance. Pino accused Burch of resisting arrest while kneeling on him. This accusation seems dubious, given Burch's age, mental state, and the fact that he was already subdued. It appears to be an attempt to justify the excessive force used against him. Burch pleaded for help and even cried out for Jesus to let him live. These desperate pleas underscore the severity of his pain and the fear he must have experienced. His words paint a harrowing picture of his final days. A nurse's aide was present during the incident in Cell 100, but provided no meaningful medical assessment. This lack of immediate medical attention is a critical failure. Burch's injuries were not properly evaluated or treated. Vigil dismissed Burch's pain as a result of his mental state. This dismissal is not only insensitive, but also medically irresponsible. Physical pain should never be disregarded simply because someone is experiencing a mental health crisis. Paramedics arrived on the scene, but provided only minimal care. Their failure to adequately assess Burch's condition and provide appropriate treatment is deeply concerning. They had a duty to care, and they seemingly failed to uphold it. Burch pleaded to be taken to the hospital, stating that his ribs were crushed. His pleas were ignored. This blatant disregard for his well-being is a shocking indictment of the medical care provided within the jail. The paramedics declined to transport Burch to the hospital. This decision, in light of his obvious pain and his own insistence that he needed medical attention, is difficult to comprehend. It raises serious questions about their judgment and their priorities. After the incident, Burch was moved to cell 101, and the window was covered with black plastic. This isolation further exacerbated his suffering and prevented proper monitoring of his condition. It was as if he was being hidden away. Burch was only seen at mealtimes, or when the plastic was removed from the window. This limited interaction meant that his deteriorating condition went largely unnoticed. He was essentially left to suffer in silence. Burch repeatedly asked for water and pain medication, but he only received water. This denial of basic medical care is inhumane and a clear violation of his rights. He was treated with a shocking lack of compassion. Jail officers and deputies noted that Burch was in pain and unable to walk. Despite these observations, no significant medical intervention was provided. The system continued to fail him, even as his condition worsened. A video visit with a nurse practitioner focused solely on his mental state, completely ignoring his physical complaints. This narrow focus demonstrates a systemic failure to address the totality of his medical needs. His physical pain was dismissed as a manifestation of his mental illness. Burch was last seen alive on April 3rd, attempting to sit up but falling over. This final image is a stark reminder of his physical decline and the lack of care he received. He was clearly in distress, yet no one intervened. An officer found Burch frozen in his cell at 4 a.m. The description of his body as frozen suggests that he had been dead for some time. This delay in discovering his death raises further questions about the monitoring of inmates. Burch's right side was deeply discolored. This discoloration is a clear indication of internal injuries and the severity of the trauma he had suffered. It should have been a glaring red flag that something was seriously wrong. The autopsy revealed that Burch's death was due to complications of blunt force trauma. This finding directly contradicts any suggestion that his death was due to natural causes or a pre-existing condition. The truth was undeniable. His injuries included multiple rib fractures, a collapsed lung, and internal bleeding. These are severe injuries that would have caused immense pain and suffering. They are a direct result of the force used against him in cell 100. The manner of death was ruled a homicide. This ruling is significant because it acknowledges that his death was caused by the actions of another person or persons. It demands further investigation and accountability. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation investigated the case. However, the investigation did not lead to criminal charges, leaving many to question the thoroughness and impartiality of the process. Justice seemed elusive. The district attorney declined to file criminal charges. This decision was a blow to those seeking justice for Burch and raised concerns about the DA's commitment to holding law enforcement accountable. The lack of charges sent a chilling message. The DA cited a potential self-defense claim for the initial tackle. This justification seems weak, given Burch's age, mental state, and the fact that he was armed with only a miniature pencil. It appears to be an attempt to shield the officers from responsibility. A federal lawsuit has been filed by Burch's estate. This lawsuit is the last hope for justice and accountability. It seeks to uncover the truth and hold those responsible for Burch's death accountable for their actions. The lawsuit names the Huerfano Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Newman, deputies, paramedics, medical staff, and Spanish Peaks Regional Health Center. This broad scope reflects the systemic nature of the alleged failures that led to Burch's death. Attorneys seek transparency and accountability from the government. They are fighting to ensure that what happened to Michael Burch never happens again. This case is about more than just one man. It's about protecting the rights and dignity of all individuals in custody. Michael Burch's death is a tragedy that demands our attention. It exposes potential systemic failures within the Huerfano County Jail and raises serious questions about the treatment of vulnerable individuals in our justice system. We cannot allow this case to be swept under the rug. We must demand transparency and accountability from the Huerfano Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney, and all those involved in Burch's care. His life mattered, and his death should not be in vain. Here's how you can help. Contact the Huerfano County Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office. Demand a thorough and transparent investigation into Michael Burch's death. Insist on accountability for those responsible. Share this video and spread awareness. Help us amplify Michael Burch's story and ensure that his death is not forgotten. Use social media to demand justice. Support organizations that advocate for prison reform and mental health care. Donate your time or money to organizations working to improve conditions in jails and prisons and provide better mental health services to those in need. Contact your elected officials. Urge them to support legislation that promotes accountability and transparency in law enforcement and ensures adequate medical care for inmates. Stay informed and engaged. Continue to follow this case and other cases of alleged abuse and neglect in our justice system. Your voice matters. Let us honor Michael Burch's memory by fighting for a more just and compassionate system. Let his death be a catalyst for change.